Srinivas Gowda, working as an assistant professor in IARE College. In the earlier classes, we have discussed the routines. In that, we have seen procedures, that is, stored procedures and functions. The third component in the routines is triggers. Today, we'll discuss the triggers in SQL. What is a trigger? Trigger is nothing but a special kind of stored procedure. One that cannot be executed explicitly. That means you cannot call it trigger as you call any other program. Okay. Instead, it is attached to an event. Whenever the event takes place, the trigger fires and the trigger code runs. Means you cannot call a trigger directly. As you call a stored procedure like exec, name of the procedure. In the same way, you cannot call a trigger. Trigger, because it is always attached to an event. It is always attached to an event. Whenever the event takes place, the trigger fires and the trigger code runs. The SQL Server supports the association of triggers with two kinds of events. Okay, in SQL, triggers are associated with two kinds of events. One is the data manipulation event, is nothing but DML, just create as insert, and the data definition events, DDL triggers, just create table. Okay, in these two cases, triggers will fire. Like one is in the DML triggers, and one is the DDL triggers. Like create table for DDL and DML for insert. Okay, you can use triggers for many purposes, like including auditing, enforcing integrity rules that cannot be enforced with constraints, and enforcing policies. Like we can enforce some constraints. We can enforce some constraints in the database columns, like check constraint. Okay, not null constraint. Which cannot be done through that thing can be enforced in the triggers by enforcing the integrity rules. And also triggers can be used for auditing purposes. A trigger is considered a part of a transaction that includes the event that caused the trigger to fire. Trigger is considered a part of the transaction that includes the event that caused the trigger to fire. See, trigger is always attached to the event. When something happens, this event will occur. Okay. Issuing a rollback transaction command within the trigger code causes a rollback of all the things that took place in the trigger, and also of all the triggers that took place in the transaction associated with the trigger. Okay, the triggers in SQL fire per statement, not per modified row. Okay, this is important. The triggers in SQL Server fire per statement, not for every modified row. Okay, for example, you modify 5 rows. Modify by one statement. If you modified a statement, it modified 5 records. Here, the trigger will fire only one for all these 5 records, not for each individual record. Okay, that is the meaning of the statement. Now we'll see what is a DML trigger. DML SQL Server supports two kinds of DML triggers. One is after, instead of. Okay, DML the SQL Server. For DML, it has two events, after and instead of. And after triggers fire after the event that is associated with finishes and can be only defined in permanent tables. And after trigger will fire only after that event has finished. Okay, that is the meaning of an after trigger. And instead of trigger fires instead of the event. Instead of the event, it is associated with and can be defined on permanent tables and views. After a trigger will fire after the event has been completed, whereas instead of trigger will fire instead of the event which is linked from. We'll see the example. In the trigger code, you can access tables called inserted and deleted that contains the rows that will be affected by the modification that caused the trigger to happen. Okay, whenever we use an insert or whenever we update or delete or insert, there are two memory tables called inserted and deleted. These will contain the rows which are affected before and after. Okay, we'll see that in later. The inserted table holds the new image of the affected rows in the case of insert and update. Suppose you want to insert a new record in the new record, or you want to update the record. The inserted table, the memory table, the temporary table will have the new value of the whether insert or update. Whereas in the same way, the deleted table holds the old image of the affected rows in the case of delete and update. Suppose you're trying to delete a record or update a record, See, when you update it, see the new value is present in the inserted table. Whereas the old value, which is the existing value, which you want to modify into new value, is present in the deleted table. Remember that the insert, update, delete statements, delete actions can be invoked by the insert, update, and delete statements. Okay, only in case of instead of triggers, the inserted and the deleted tables contains the rows that were supposed to be affected by the modification that caused the trigger to fire. In the case of inserted triggers, the inserted or the deleted will contain the rows that are supposed to be affected. Suppose you want to insert a record, that new record will be present in the memory in inserted table. In the same way, the old value or the deleted value will present in the deleted table. Okay. Now let us see the example for an DML thing. The following simple example of an after trigger audits inserts into a table. Suppose you have a table, you're doing some operation on that, adding, you're inserting or updating or deleting. You want to audit, you want to store all this audit into a table, then we can make use of it, this after trigger concept. Okay. Here I'm having a table called T1, one more table called as T1 underscore audit. The T1 underscore audit will contains the contains the audit, what is happening with the table T1. Okay. So first I'll make sure the table is not existed. So I'm saying if exists T1 underscore audit, I'm saying drop. The same way, if a table T1 exists, I'm saying drop the table T1. Now I'm creating a table called T1 has two columns, key column and data column. Okay. This table will have two columns called key value data columns. So I have created this table. So I say select star from T1. I'll see there are no records available in this table. Now let us create a second table, T1 underscore audit, which we use for auditing purpose. So I'm creating a table called T1 audit having the following columns: audit underscore LSN is integer not null, identity primary key. The primary key, they followed by date time. When that record is inserted, I'm having the get date as the default date. Then I'm saying login underscore name of system. That is the user who has made this change. Then the value of the key column, the value what has been inserted or deleted, data column, and the trigger action. Okay, this is the table I'm creating. It is the following columns. So there are 6 columns here, right? In the audit table, audit underscore LSN column has an identity property and represent audit log serial number. The DT column represents the date and time of the insertion using the default expression sysdate or getDate. The login name represents the name of the login and that perform the insertion using the default expression origin underscore login. Okay. Now let us now we'll create a trigger on the T1 table. Now we want to audit the T1 table, right? So we should create a table trigger on T1 table. It is after insert trigger. So I'm creating a trigger on T1. The syntax could be create trigger name on table name is T1. After which event? After insert. Now after insert, I'm creating an after insert trigger. Okay. No. Here what I am saying that you insert the values into insert into the audit table. So what are the values you want to insert? Whatever you are inserting to T1. What are you inserting key column and data column into T1 table, right? So same values you want to insert into the T1 table. From where you want inserting? From the inserted table. As I already told that inserted will have the new value or the updated value. Okay. Same thing for now create trigger. We're creating one more trigger. The create trigger name on T1 table after delete. Here it is for insert. Now here for it is after delete. Okay. Now here what I am saying that you insert the deleted column from the deleted table into the audit table. Okay, fine. Now I have two triggers on this T1 table. One for after insert. The other is after delete. Okay, fine. Now I am here. Now what I am doing is I am inserting 10, 30, 20 to T1 table. Okay. So I insert into T1 two values 10, A, 30, X, 20, G. So when I say select star from T1, I'll find 3 records available here. I'll find 3 records 10, 20, 30. Now here now I have made a trigger on T1 table after insert, after delete to insert records into that audit table. You see here that audit table 1, 2, 3. You insert 3 records A X Z A X A X Z here with the timestamp at what time you have inserted these records. Who's the login? I logged into SQL using SA and say inserted. This is coming after insert trigger. After after insert trigger code is firing here on T1 table. I'm not inserting the directly record into T1 audit. I'm inserting record in T1. Same time the trigger on after insert will fire and insert records into T1 audit. Okay. This is the inserted table after trigger. After, now let us see same thing for deleted. Now you are trying to delete a record from the T1 table 20. Now you execute this command. By this the value 20 will be deleted. Now the trigger fires for each statement. Next, query the audit table. Now you have deleted the record from T1 table 20. Now 20 is no longer represent. We have only 2 columns. Now you say audit the audit table. T1 is going to audit. Here what we get? See the first 3 records are to insert from the earlier command. Now you have deleted the 40th. You have deleted the 20th record. Deleted the 20th record. Now the value of 20. Now here see the 4th record. See the timestamp. Say key value is 20. Okay. Now this is the after insert trigger. See, whenever you insert a value, when you insert a value into the main table, if you want to audit that table, you can use the after insert, after delete trigger action on the original table to insert and see the how who's doing what. When you are done, please run these queries to clear the tables. Okay, this is the D that completes the DML trigger. Now let us see what is a DDL trigger. The SQL Server supports DDL trigger, which can be used for purpose for auditing, policy enforcement, and change management. Earlier we have seen that your DML was trying to audit a particular table values, but here that this will happen for your entire database. On-premise SQL Server supports the creation of DDL trigger at 2 scopes: one the database scope and the server scope, depending on the scope of the event. The SQL Server supports only database triggers. When you create a database trigger for event, the database scope will create table. At the server level, you say create a database. SQL supports only DDL triggers. If it does not support, it does not support instead of DDL triggers. Only after DDL triggers, whereas your DML is supporting after and instead of insert. But here, this DDL will not support instead of DDL triggers. Okay, within the trigger, you can obtain permissions. You can obtain information on the event that caused the trigger to fire by querying a function called event data that returns the event information as XML value. This event data will contain the total information in the XML format. Okay, you can use the XQuery expression to extract event attributes such as post time, event type, and logon name from the XML value. Let us see the example. The following code creates the audit DDL called event table, which holds the audit table. Okay, which holds the audit information. Now here I am creating a table called audit DDL events, having the following columns. See, the audit LSN is a identity column. Okay, post time is the date when it happened, the event type, login name, schema name. You know, the schema name is nothing but a group of objects bound to be group of objects binded to be one under one entity. That is schema name, object name, target object name, event data, XML format. Okay, XML data type, and constraint. Okay, this is considered primary key. Notice the table has a column called X event, which has an XML data type. In addition to the individual attributes, the trigger extracts from the event information and stores in individual attributes. It stores the full event information in the event data column. Now I say select. Now I've created this table. Select start from audit DDL events. So there are no records here. Now run the following code to create trigger underscore audit underscore DDL events on the database we're using. Now, you know, earlier in the DML, we are trying to create on the database table. Here we are creating at the database level. In the By creating, now we are creating by at the database level. Now here we are getting a trigger name as trg underscore audit underscore events. This trigger name on database, on the current database. For what? For DDL underscore database underscore level events that count on. So I'm writing a trigger on the database level. This is the syntax. You're creating one variable called event data XML to show the event data. Now you're writing the insert statement. This is a database level. Insert into this DDL events the following columns. Then the first time is the first value is the auto increment is at LSN. Post time is in varchar. Sys name event then login name is the event type 1. Login name is S is 1. Schema name is schema. Object name, object which object, target object name. Event data at last. Okay. By this we inserted. We are writing a trigger at the database level to insert the audit of the entire database. Okay. Let us see next. The trigger code first stores the event information obtained from the event data function in the event variable. The code then inserts a row into the audit table with attributes extracted by using query expression by the value method, by dot value method from the event information, test the XML value with the full event information. To test the trigger, run the following code which contains the few DDL statements. Here I'm creating a table if exists. So I'm creating a table called as T1. This is my first step. First operation is to create table called T1. Then I am altering the table to add a column called column 2. Then again I am altering the table to make it not null. And I am also creating a non-clustered index on T1 for column 2. Total I am doing 4 operations. First operation is to create an empty table called T1. Then add a column which is a null. The third time I am making the column as not null. And the fourth is to create an index, non-clustered index on column T2. I'm performing these 4 operations on a database XYZ. Okay. Now you run your audit. You see what is happening in the audit table. So I start from audit DDL events. Here you see that first you have dropped the table, it exists. Then you have created a table. Next you have altered to add a column called T2. Again you ordered the column to make it as a not null. You create index. Everything is audited and it is recorded into audit detail event table. The schema name is DBO. Same thing that the object name is here T1 till here T1. Here this is the index name. Okay. The target object name is table 1. You see here the event data. This is stored in XML. If you click on it, you'll get like this. For example, the first thing is drop table. You drop the table called T1. Using the login name SA, DB is a schema name, practice is a database name, DB is a schema name, table name is T1. What did you drop? Table. Okay, this is what is the command? Drop table. By this, you can audit your entire database to find out what happened on this. This is about triggers. One more last topic is what is the SQL inserted and deleted. I'm trying to put triggers on existing database, but I'm having a hard time understanding how to use inserted and deleted tables. They make sense when I'm dealing with an insert or delete operation, but how about an update? Do they contain a single row per row or data change, or the truly tables? But this is my question, okay? Now let us answer the second question first. These two tables, inserted and deleted, if they contain anything, contains a row for every row of data affected, therefore should be treated as tables. So these are tables, okay? The trigger only fires once per operation under normal circumstances. Since they should be treated as table, use set-based operation from them whenever you can. Too many times you see cursors going row by row through these tables. When a set-based operation could be better. Now we'll see what are the differences. Okay, first is the operation. Delete table, insert table. When I say inserted, there's no value in the deleted table because we are not deleting a record. But the inserted table will have the rows which are trying to insert. Okay, that's trying to delete. Contains the rows which are being deleted. Here inserted, there's no row because you're not inserting a record. Whereas in update contains the rows as they were before the update. So you're updating A to B. Now A to B, your deleted table will have the value of A. When you are not trying to make A to B, this will contain B. Contains the rows as are after the update statements. A conceptual way of thinking how the deleted and inserted tables are used in update often is that SQL Server first deletes the old rows, populates the deleted database, then inserts the new and modified rows populated in the inserted tables. While this is what actually happens, this is not what happens. This helps visualize what the tables contain and useful in that sense. Thank you. This completes the trigger part.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.